Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Soranandana Brajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Soranandana Brajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Jabradira Banachari. Jamanadira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Kishoranandana Prajanarangana Yashodanandana Prajanarangana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Sri Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Nitalila Vishnu Mishapad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananda Guri Vaishnavanda Ki Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Brajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Bolo Sri Sri Krishna Baldao Ki Jai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Suni Misradi Satari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter number 45, verse number 9. What is this chapter? Krishna rescues his teacher's son. So finally, Kamsa is dead, Kuvalyapida, Chanura Mustika, everybody is finally dead. So now we have a new Leela opening up here. Tat Shantum Arhatas Tata Matar No Paratantrayaho Trayo Akruvator Bang Susrusam Klistayor Durida Brisham Tatshantum Arhatasata Materno Paratantrayo Akurvator Vam Susrusam Shushusham Klistayor Durida Brisham Tatshantum Arhatastata Materno Paratantrayo Akurvator Vam Shusrusham Klistayor Durida Brisham. Tat, that. Shantum, forgive. Arataha, you may please. Tata, O Father. Mata, O Mother. No, on the part of us. Paratantrayo, who are under the control of others. Akurvato, not executing. Mam, your. Shushrusham, service. Klistayo, cause pain. Durida, by the hard-hearted. Comes. Brisham, greatly. Translation: Dear Father and Mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Khans. Translation, please repeat. Dear Father and Mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Khans. Purport by the followers of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. According to Sanskrit grammar, the words paratantrayo and klistayo may also refer to Vasudeva and Devaki. Actually, Vasudeva and Devaki were under the control of Providence and were disturbed by the activities of Kans, whereas Sri Krishna is always the absolute personality of Godhead. Tachantu mahatastata matarno paratantrayo akurvatorvam shushusham klistayo duridabhisham. Dear Father and Mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Kams. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tidati Svapadandigam Adadanastridandantai Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So here we see one of the small differences between Mathura and Vrindavan. In Mathura, there's a bit of Aishvarya. Later we'll see Krishna will go to Dwarka. There we'll see that in Vrindavan there's only Madhurya. All this Aishvarya is covered by very sweetness. In Dwarka, he's completely, Madhurya is almost completely covered by Aishvarya. So the Acharyas have described that in Dwarka, Krishna is Purn. Purn means full and complete. Now, according to English grammar, if something's full and complete, it can't be more complete. But these types of rules don't have any standing in transcendental technology. So in Dwarka, Krishna is Purn Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in Mathura, he's Paripurn. He's even more full. But in Braj, he's Paripurnatam. He's completely full. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see in Braj, even though Krishna may do so many wonderful activities, just like we've been on a marathon to finish my book all about Govardhan Leela. So the Brajavas, they saw Krishna lifted this hill with the little finger of his left hand. Actually, Sanatana Goswami explains, actually he lifted it with his left hand, because ordinarily if we do some hard work, we do it with the right hand. So Krishna wanted to show it's not a big deal, so he lifted the hill with his left hand. When he saw that Mother Yasoda was, then he put it on his little pinky. Look, Ma, it's no problem. So for 7 days and 7 nights, he held the hill on the tip of his finger. The Brajavasis saw all this, but still, they just think Krishna is just their little lala. Krishna completely, Yogamaya completely covers him. There's two types of Maya, Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Mahamaya is that potency which takes us away from Krishna. Just like in England there was one fellow named Stephen Hawking. He wrote so many books how this Bhagwan is a useless thing. foolish thing, foolishness. Completely taken away by Mahamaya. So, and then there's Yogmaya. Yogmaya brings us closer to Krishna. And in Braj, it brings us the closest, so close that we don't even know or even care if Krishna may be God or not God, whatever he may be, we just love Krishna, that's all. Prabhupada said like that, he may be God and whatever he may be, we just love Krishna. Yogamaya brings us so close because that on reverence, it leaves out a little sweetness. But Mother Yasoda, she just loves Krishna as her little love. As soon as he put the hill down, she was massaging his arm. Oh, Lala, what happened? You must be so tired. It was nothing, Maya. She completely forgets. That is the Madhurya. We're so close, we forget, because that on-reverence is sort of obstacle to becoming very close to Krishna. So Yogamaya is what brings us closer to Krishna, so close that we even forget, the Vrishbhasis even forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now, Kamsa's dead, everything. They saw Krishna kill Kamsa. Now Kamsa, he was so powerful. We read about all these great demons. Kamsa subdued all those demons. He was so powerful. That's how they became his allies. He defeated them, so they joined him. You can't defeat him, join him, you know. He was so powerful. He defeated all these big demons. And they were under him. And everybody just saw. Vasudeva and Devaki, they just saw. He killed Kamsa. So then Krishna and Balaram came to them, and they're just standing there, just stunned. Krishna and Balaram are thinking, well, we've been away since our very, Krishna since his very birth. Balaram, he never saw his parents, but they saw him, and now he hasn't seen them, and they're just standing there like this. So then he began to talk all these sweet little childish words, that please forgive us like this. And he evoked that Vatsalya ras within their hearts. They were just stunned like this. So then he began to say, we're sorry, we didn't do our duty to serve you. Here in this verse, they're telling that we're all under providence. But actually in the purport it explains that Vasudeva and Devaki, they were under providence and disturbed greatly by durida. We know rida means heart. So dur means very hard. Kamsa was durida, very cruel. But here the purport explains that Krishna is never disturbed. It was Vasudeva and Devaki who were disturbed. This is the unimaginable kindness of Krishna. That we're in such disturbing conditions. But Krishna is not disturbed at all, but still, out of his unlimited mercy, he descends to this world, display these pastimes. He comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to save us. He has no need to save us. He's full in himself, but full and complete. This is just his unlimited mercy. Jiva Goswami says he cannot feel the troubles that we're going through because he's so much, he's such an Anand. He's eternity, knowledge, and bliss. But still he's so kind to try to save us from this deep, dark material world. He tries to save us from this deep, dark material world. So now we'll see in the next verse, Vasudeva and Devaki, they begin to cry because they were just standing there stunned. Then Krishna, Balaram with these sweet little words, please forgive us. Then their Vatsalya ras and covered up that Aishvarya aspect, and they began to cry and embrace Krishna and Balaram. And this chapter is very interesting. It says Krishna rescues his son's teacher. This is actually Ujjain Lila. We're going to see the next few verses. Then Vasudeva begins to consider that now Krishna and Balaram have come of age, now we should do their Upanayan Sanskar. We should give them the Brahmin thread. Now one time we were doing Kumbh Mela in Ujjain, so I read the whole chapter of Jiva Goswami, all about Ujjain Lila. And it's very, very interesting. Because it starts out just like here, that Krishna, Vasudeva and Devaki are standing in there. Then Krishna begins to speak like these sweet words, and they cry and embrace him. But still, they're not completely comfortable. Because they were used to dealing with Mother Yasoda. Oh Maya, can I have this? Oh Maya, please, I'm hungry, please. Oh Maya, they're not used to treating Devaki like this. Then suddenly Vasudeva realizes, well, wait a minute. Rohini's still there in Braj. So he sends a whole party to Braj to tell Nanda Baba that now Kansa's dead, that now Rohini can return back to her husband in Mathura and take up her duties there. Because she's been in both, she was with Krishna and Balaram for their whole Braj Leela. So they're used to dealing with her. And then Rohini, she's caught up in a whirlwind of emotions. On one side, how can she give up the order of her husband to come to Mathura? And how can she give up the chance to see those beautiful Gaur and Sham, Krishna and Balaram? On the other side, Nanda Baba and Yasoda treated her so kindly, and the Brishbasis were so sweet to her. How can she leave them? But Mother Yasoda, understanding her, said, no, you must go. Don't think that there's any difference between you and me. We never thought, this is my son, that is your son, that is your son, this is my son. We never had this Bhed Bhav, these different bhavs. Knowing that you're just identical with me, you must go. So then the party that came from Mathura took them up to the bank of the Jamuna, and somehow the Brishbasis were just crying and crying, and Mother Yasoda crossed the river to Mathura. And in Mathura, as she was coming, very amazing thing happened. She saw Krishna and Balaram, and Krishna and Balaram saw her, and with her, they were seeing her as non-different from Mother Yasoda. And she was also feeling, yes, I'm Mother Yasoda. And then she embraced Krishna and Balaram, and very, very sweetly. And then they came to Mathura. But whenever Rohini talks about Braj, the other queens of Vasudeva, they become a little disturbed. Why do you want to talk about that thorn forest? And he wanted a little butter, and they tied him up with ropes and chased him with sticks. And Rohini tries to say, but what is the harm? He said, oh Rohini, those Brishbasis, you stayed with those Brishbasis for so long, they brainwashed you with their dahi and milk, and now you speak all these untasteful things. So she became quiet, realizing they have a different bhav in Mathura. So then Krishna and Balaram were very happy. Now Rohini's there, they're used to dealing with her, so the relation with Vasudeva and Devaki was straightened out. But then, after they saw that the plans were going on for the Upanayan Sanskar, and Krishna and Balaram saw that Vasudeva was not inviting anybody from Braj. For that same reason, that whenever Rohini talks about Braj, they become disturbed. So he didn't want to disturb them, so he didn't invite. So Rohini saw this, but she understood, so she kept her mouth shut. But Krishna and Balaram, they also saw the Brishbasis are not invited for this. Then in Mathura, there's one friend of Krishna who has the same name as one of his friends in Braj Leela, Sudama. So we know Sudama Mali. So he went to Sudama Mali and he said, you take this message to Vasudeva and Upananda, and don't let any third pair of ears hear it. Don't let it enter a third pair of ears. So Sudama went there, he met Vasudeva and Upananda in a Nanda and Upananda in a secluded place, and he told him, they're arranging our Brahman thread ceremony, but I've understood their conspiracy. By giving us the Brahman thread, they will give us Kshatriya Varna, and thus we will become their sons. But know it, that I will never, only externally will I accept this Kshatriya Varna, but only from you I will accept this Gopatva, this Gopa Varna. So you arrange for all my friends to have their Upanayan Sanskar, and seeing me within my friends, you award us within your hearts this Gopatva, this Gopa Varna. Only externally we'll accept. So then after, you have Jiva Goswami always, even though it's materially, he brings the Braj sweetness always into it. So then, since now they had their Brahman ceremony, because it happened like that, that they performed, Jiva Goswami says, since they didn't invite the Brajbasis, no need to describe that pastime, but in Braj, Sudama, Stoka Krishna, and everyone, they brought them all together, and seeing Krishna with them non-different from Krishna, they awarded them the Brahman thread and made them cowherds. So then they began to discuss that now we've taken our Brahman thread, we should go to Gurukul. So they began to think, who's the best person to accept as Guru? So they decided that there's no person more qualified than Ved Vyas. But he's a Parama Vaishnava. He will understand our position as Bhagavan. He'll feel ashamed to award us, to instruct us. So better we find someone who's a Shiva Pasik, somebody who worships Lord Shiva. And no one is better, more learned than the great Sandipani Muni, who was born in Kashi, who traveled in Prabhas Kshetra, where the Vyadus eventually killed each other. And now he stays in Avantipur, next to Lord Shiva, Mahakal. Sandipani Muni, he's the best person. So then they began to discuss going to Avantipur. And so Krishna told his father, you don't let anyone know that we've gone, otherwise our enemies will take advantage. You just say we're doing a Kantavrat, we're staying alone in some kutir in Mathura, and not receiving any visitors. So like that, then Mother Yasoda, Mother Devaki and Rohini, they were afraid Krishna, now he's become accepted, he's going to the Gurukul, so he has to, he can't ride on a chariot there. It's not proper, he's a brahmachari. They should go on their feet. And Mother Rohini and Devaki said, how can you go alone like this? He said, Krishna said, look, if Balaram is with me, I have 1 crore of friends. And if I'm with Balaram, he has 10 crore of friends. Don't worry about us. And they said they were going to go on their feet, not on a chariot. And everybody was shocked. He said, but actually, Jiva Goswami explains, those 2 lotus feet are the boat that carry everyone, all of us, across this ocean of material existence. So they're the proper vehicle for them to go to Avantipur. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. We don't have time today. So this is leading up to that Leela. This is the background, the Braj background. So today is also the disappearance day of Raghunandan Thakur. There were 3 brothers, Mukunda, Nahari, and I can't remember the third just. Murari. Elder one was Mukunda, and he had a son named Raghunandan. And in their family, they had a very beautiful deity named Gopinath, who'd been worshipped in their family for years and years. And Mukunda was doing the service very, very sweetly. But one day there was something very urgent that he had to leave town. So he called his little 5-year-old son, Raghunandan. And he explained to him that for years and years this deity has been worshipped in our family. So I have to go. So you're entrusted to do the worship, just like you've been watching me every day. So you do exactly as I do. And just like your mother feeds us every day, you have to feed the deity very nicely. And I will come in the evening. So then he did all the worship. Then he brought the boga, and he did like his father did. He chanted all the prayers and did everything. But he opened his eyes, he saw that the boga was still there. And then he began to pray some more. Please take your boga. I'm offering to you. And he opened his eyes and saw it's still there. He said, oh no, my father will become very angry with me. He began to cry, please take this boga, please take. Otherwise my father's going to scold me. So then Gopinath's heart melted. So he ate the whole boga, didn't leave a single grain, speck. To Raghunandan, he washed all the plates and everything. Evening his father came. He said, you did the worship? He said, yes. Did you do just like I told you? Yes. Did you offer the boga? He said, yes. So where's the prasadam? Prasadam? What's left over? I don't know. There's nothing left over. The Lord ate everything. And Mukunda began to think, he's a very good boy. He never lies in his life. How is he talking like this? So for several days this was going around his mind. How did he say like that? So one day he made some excuse that I have to go out, you do the service. Again. So he went out one door, but he came in the back door and he hid himself. And again Raghunandan, he offered the bhog and he's praying to the Lord. He opened his eyes, it's still there. And he began to pray some more and it's still there. Finally he began to cry, he says, will you please take? So Gopinath picked up a laddu and bit one half of it. And then he spotted that Mukunda was there and he stopped eating right there. And Mukunda jumped out and he's just praising his son, you're so fortunate you made the Lord eat. So you'll see this Gopinath Didi there, still there. He has half a laddu in his hand. So this is Raghunandan Thakur. Now today is also disappears day of Bamsidas Babaji. And Bamsidas Babaji is very, very interesting character. Both Bhakti Vinod and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta have accepted him as a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. Whereas by ordinary vision, people would say he's crazy. He's a crazy person. And he was born 1859 in a little village in what is now Bangladesh called Majidpur. And his father was a fisherman, very, very. So at a very, very low birth. And somehow they had no opulence. Whatever his father caught, they just managed to, whatever fish he caught by selling them, and whatever they kept, whatever was left over, somehow they eked out a living. Very, very poor, very, very difficult childhood. And then they had a family guru who was in Narottam Parivar. In fact, his name was Narottam Das Babaji. So he accepted initiation from him. And then at that time in Bengal, there were so many charlatans because they were just distorting Mahaprabhu's philosophy. They were making it seem like Vaishnavism is so you can do debauchery, and so many Apasampradayas appeared, but somehow Gaurkishore, he wasn't attracted by any of them, and he saw the good qualities of Narottam Baba. And then he began to listen. Narottam Baba was in another town called Jabalpur, not far away. So he used to go there and hear his talks. And he must have learned all of Narottam Das's. Very fond of singing all the songs of Narottam Das. He would go more every day after the duties. he would go in the evening and listen to Narottam Baba speak. And gradually he was explaining how this material world is a useless place, and our real goal of life is to understand our relationship with Krishna and go back to home, back to Godhead. So he began to develop detachment from this world. So his parents became very worried, so they immediately got him married. But we don't know any information about his married life. We just know that he would go every evening and listen to Narottam Baba, and finally he understood that material life is useless, so he left his wife and 6-month-old son. Nobody can do such a thing. But he left them and stayed in the ashram. And finally, Narottam Das Baba gave him the name Bamsi Das. So he became known as Bamsi Das Babaji, or sometimes just Babaji Maharaj. And he had some Radhakrishna deities, he had some wooden neem Gornitai, and a little Laddu Gopal that he always carried. This is very interesting. Some people say this is not Gaudiya Sampradaya, but this is just a common thing in India, not any particular Sampradaya. People always have this little Laddu Gopal on their altar. And he carried that Laddu Gopal wherever he went. And he worshipped his deities. He was complete avadut. He had no schedule for his deities, that he woke up at this certain time, offered bhog at this certain. Sometimes he wouldn't offer bhog till night time. Sometimes, so he was just completely not in this world. And anybody who came to talk to him, he never talked to them. He would only talk to his deities. Whatever they would ask, he would talk to his deities and give the answer. Or if he didn't like the person for some reason, he wouldn't give any answer. He just talked something. And he had this accent that was, village accent that hardly anybody could understand. And he only talked to his deities. And especially if people came to him for material desires, he would just talk to his deities and ignore them. Or sometimes he would give, if he saw they were sincere, he would give some answer, but he would only talk to his deities. And he never locked his door. And people said, why don't you lock your door? He said, these people are the biggest thieves. One is always stealing butter, others stealing all the fallen souls of this Kali Yuga. They're thieves. So I give one key to Radha and Krishna, one key to Gaur, and one key to Nitai. If they have soft heart, because now he's moved to Navadvip, if they have a soft heart for the Navadvipasis, what can I do? One thief is stealing, another thief is stolen, another thief is stealing from them. It is going on. So one day he had these 2 brass pots with he worshipped the deities. So one day some thief came in and somebody stole the 2 brass pots. So when Bamsi Das came home, he said, where are these pots? What have you guys done? Giving me trouble like this. Therefore, I'm not going to cook for you today unless you bring those pots back. So then, somehow or other, Nitai's pot, somehow somebody mysteriously came, stuck it in the house and ran. He said, okay, I will cook for Nitai, but not for you. So he cooked for Nitai, and Gaur was watching that Nitai's eating it. So then later in the evening, somebody else came and put the pot, and then he cooked for Gaur. So like this. Then somehow or other, he went on a trip to Braj. And he went, visited so many places on the way, and Kashi, the devotees of the Gaudiya Mat there, because Bhaktisiddhanta had very great faith in him. And he always sent, wherever he went, he would always make sure that devotees saw to his comfort. So he found out he was in Kashi, and they came and supplied him with things. Sometimes they would supply things, he would take a stick and chase them away. He was unpredictable character. Then he begged them that this is where Gaur talked Sanatana Goswami for so many days at Daswasame Ghat, So you please come and read that chapter. And for I can't remember how many days, he was just in total ecstasy, hearing all these pastimes. And finally, somehow or other, he finally made it to Bisramghat and Mathura, and he stayed there on the bank of the Jamuna for some time. Then he went to Vrindavan, and he just wandered here in the Vrindavan, and sometimes he would just go in the sandbar in the middle of the Jamuna and stay there for like a week at a time. Not like us, we come here, we want to get a nice room in MBT with attached bath and everything. He would just stay in the sandbar in the middle of the Jamuna. He never bathed. From Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's book, he quotes Jyoti Shekhar, who went with him one time on a trip to Puri. He said, I never saw him bathe, but he never smelled bad. His hair was always a mess. He always looked a mess, but he never smelled bad. I never saw him take bath. So he was just not of this world. And he wandered all over Braj for some time. He never went to visit any temples. He just worshipped his deities and talked to his deities about all the different pastimes in the different places. And again would stay in a sandbar in the middle of the Jamuna, and then this and that. Then somehow he made his way back. Another time he made his way to Puri. And even one time Rath Yatra was passing and it stopped right where he had his tent. He just had a little tent that he stayed in. And the Rath wouldn't move. No matter what they did, the Rath wouldn't move. And somehow he was just nobody could understand what he was saying, but he had these intimate conversations with Jagannath. And then the cart moved on. And then he returned to Navadvip. Anyway, he was totally not of this world personality. One time some Marwaris came and they wanted to know how long the world war would go on, because they were making a lot of money in the black market. So he just said, how do I know these things? So frustrated they went away. Like that, everybody approached him for material benefit, he had no time for them. And finally, he returned to Majidpur, and then he went to Jamalpur, spent the rest of his life, then he returned back to Majidpur. And on this day, so many years ago, on this is the 4th day of the bright hat of the month of Shravan. Like yesterday we were celebrating Haryali Tej. Tej means 3. So we see the beautiful, Haryali means greenery. Now it's all green. So this is the bright half, 3rd day of the bright hat. That was 3rd day. Today's 4th day of the bright half of the month of Shravan. On this day, Bamsidas Babaji entered to the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Also on this 4th day, Bamsidas Babaji's disappearance day, is also the day that the titi that I picked up this present body. So Bamsidas, this year because of Adhik Maas, it became very late, because actually Bamsidas' calendar date is July 22nd, so, and now we're here already in August 20th, almost a month off, so because of Adhik Maas. So, but I can remember my calendar date about many years ago, in 1969. I was exactly 20. And we were living in the mountains above Boulder, Colorado. And I had a little shelter there, and was cooking my own things. I was cooking some brown rice with some chikusan soy sauce, and living there very peacefully. And another friend named Sunshine, which had nothing to do with the sun. Only those who are from my generation will understand what his name Sunshine was. But we used to sit and speculate at the speed of mind, trying to understand what was the goal of life. Because I decided that if I don't find out what life is all about, what is the meaning, if it's just a big cosmic joke, then what's the use of staying here? I'll just give up my body. So I was very desperate to understand what was the truth. And we would speculate and speculate, and we'd always come to the conclusion, it's beyond words. Then we look at each other and say, well, then why did you say that? We were always running up this brick wall, you know. There's nothing to be said. Then why did you say that? We're just running up this brick wall, you know, we couldn't get past. So somehow or other, one day, well, it was that particular year, the calendar date came on a full moon. So we went up, we were living out in the mountains, so we went on top of this peak, and we took certain so-called consciousness-enhancing chemicals, we won't mention, but you know in the mountains that the stars and the moon, everything is so bright. And the moon was just so bright, and now the drugs were taking their effect, you know, and it was just getting so intense. And I walked out onto the end of this rock, and I was just staring at the moon, and all this white light was pouring down. Because that was our idea, God is the big white light, you know. And, you know, and the drug was really peaking, you know. And I said, now I'm going to see God. I'm going to see God, you know. All this white light was flowing down, and all of a sudden everything turned around, and I saw what God was seeing. This poor, dirty hippie, because the place where we used to take bath, that was part of that was the water supply for Boulder. So somebody got caught, and so they, you know, we were afraid to go there and get put in jail. So we would sneak down to the university campus twice a week or so and take bath, you know. So this dirty hippie with hair, I had hair all over the place like this, down to here, stoned out of his mind, staring at the moon. And I thought, my God, I've been in this world for 2 decades. 20 years I've been in this world. I don't know who I am, where I'm going, or what I'm supposed to be doing. 2 decades. Instead of seeing what God was seeing God, I saw what God was seeing, you know. And I think, my God, it's 2 decades. I don't know anything, you know. So I had this intense desire for self-realization. Very shortly after that, we ran into the devotees and Srila Prabhupada's little tiny Bhagavad-Gita as it is. That time was only 400 pages, 1,100 pages, or 700 pages they edited out. But still we became devotees by reading this little book. And I found out where I came from, what I'm supposed to be doing, and what is the purpose of life. And of course, that was Jamashtami Day. And in those days, we didn't know you're supposed to take a Ekadasi breakfast at midnight and have the grain feast the next day. So those days, right at midnight, we had a full-on feast. Puris, I'd never seen puris before. I was a cook. And those days there weren't so many rules and regulations. I was in the kitchen helping, you know. And they would roll out this piece of dough flat like a piece of paper and drop it. Then they had this thing called ghee. I'd never heard of ghee. This golden liquid. And they would make it hot and they drop this piece of paper thin dough into it, you know, and it, bloop, it blew up like a balloon. I said, wow, this is magic cooking. And in those days, there wasn't many Indians living in America, so it wasn't you went to the Indian shop and got some besan flour to make your pakoras or your laddus. You had to grind the chickpeas. So they had this cast iron grinder. And so they gave me that duty. And first you put it loose, you know, and you grind it. It comes out like gravel, you know. And then you put a little tighter and you put it in a little tighter. And it comes out like very coarse sand. And then you put it in a little tighter, you know, and it comes out almost like sand, you know. And then you put it even tighter. And I had understood, you know, the devotees have been preaching to me that we have to give our energy back to Krishna. I said, wow, whatever they're going to make with this, I'm sure Krishna's going to enjoy. I'm really putting my energy into this. And that's how we made the besan flour to make besan laddus and pakoras. So anyway, at midnight we had this full-on feast. And there was this thing, this brown sweet sitting there on the edge of my plate. And Bhavananda was telling you have to eat everything. This is spiritual food. We can't waste it, And I was just, completely stuffed. And then he said, he picked up his gulab jamun. He said, you know how to eat this? I said, nope. And he took his gulab jamun. In those days, the rule was you couldn't offer them until they had soaked in the sweet juice for 3 days. So they were heavy-duty gulab jamuns. So he took that gulab jamun, he threw it in his mouth, bloop. And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So I picked up that gulab jamun, I threw that gulab jamun in my mouth, bloop. And all the sweet juice started coming out. And I thought, this taste is never going to end. And devotees have been, Bhavananda, he was preaching to me because he was, from Hollywood, so he was very dramatic. In the spirit, in this material world, everything gets dull. Just like when I was a kid, there was an advertisement, smoking more, enjoying less, smoking more, enjoying less. Everything gets dull. But in the spiritual world, sight is always heightening. He would go like that, and I would go, and he'd go, taste is always heightening. Touch is always heightening. Sound is always heightening. You go like, So I said, well, I'm there. I made it to the spiritual sky. This is never going to end. And I ate so much prasad, my belly was aching. And one side of my mind says, my God, you can't move. The other side said, anyway, where would you go? Outside is birth, death, disease, and old age, and the wheel of karma will tangle you up. And here, chanting, dancing, feasting, and the absolute truth will be revealed, and you'll get Satchit Anand, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So where will you go? So then right on the spot, on Janmashtami Day, I became a devotee. Hare Krishna. So if anybody has any questions or comments, we can try to answer them.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, after this 20 years, now you are 54 years in the movement, how do you release the things?
Everything becomes more and more relishable, that's all I can say. I'm just addicted to serving the Vaishnavas. I don't, because sometimes people say, don't you get tired of telling the same old stories again and again? But when I take new people to all these places, I'm seeing through their eyes. They're seeing these places for the first time, So I'm seeing through them, so it's like a new experience for me every single time. And it just becomes more and more relishable. And Krishna's pastimes are just relishable like that. They never get stale. And that's the secret. You must serve the devotees. Because somehow or other, I have no bhakti, I have no sadhana, I have no nothing, but somehow or other, I'm always serving the Vaishnavas, and somehow they're blessing me, and I'm just going on like that, that's all. So you please just bless me that I can, don't bless me with years, I don't want years, but bless me with the health and the energy to keep on serving the Vaishnavas and push on Prabhupada's movement, that's all. Hare Krishna. Yes, in the back there's a question.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned that Krishna has like 100 friends, and then Balaram has 10 times more. So how is that? I just would like to know that why is it like that Balaram has much more friends than Krishna? You mentioned that Krishna...
Yes, he said if I'm with Balaram, then he has 10 crores of friends. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's even greater than Balaram. Even Balaram, during the Brahma Vimohan Leela, we saw that even Balaram didn't understand what happened.
So Krishna had more friends then. Krishna had more friends. Krishna had more friends, or Balaram?
No, the point is that he was saying that if I'm with Balaram, then he has 10 crores of friends. You consider my association like 10 crores, he has 10 crores of friends.
Oh, I understand.
If Balaram was with me, I have 1 crore of friends. But if I'm with Balaram, he has 10 crores of, we're not alone. He was just trying to calm his mother down.
Thank you.
Anyway, no more questions. We can fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of the great personality who came to show us who we are and what we're supposed to be doing and what is the purpose of life. Srila Prabhupada ki.